to the live. I never know if I'm going live. I need to get better at the beginning bit. Still don't know. I look like a newsreader now. Okay, I think I'm live. I think I'm live, everyone. Hello and welcome. It's been a very interesting morning in the Walker household. We've got a child at home due to a COVID outbreak at the school. So it's been a little bit hectic, but we're going ahead and being professional. So what I'm doing today, I believe, is talking about the 5 things that we can do to make the perfect CST session. So what would be good is, if you're listening live, is to put a hashtag live in the comments, and if you're watching the replay, pop in a little hashtag replay, and that helps me to know who's watching, and also to keep an eye on the comments when they come in too. So I would like to start by asking you the question: if you had to plan a session today for a session that was going to take place in the next half an hour, what would be the session? What's your go-to session? I reckon we all have a session that we go to as our fallback. So imagine your colleague's called in sick and you've got to jump in and run this session in 20 minutes. What would you do? What's the one that you'd do? I'm sure many of you have probably done it before. I certainly have. Okay, so stick that in the comments. What would be your go-to session out of all the CST sessions that you do? Which is your favourite? Stick it in the comments, and also stick in the comments whether you're watching live or whether you are watching it as a replay. Now hopefully you can all hear me. Hopefully all is going well from your end. Thank you for coming along. I always have to say thank you because I really appreciate that you're spending 10 to 15 minutes of your time to come and listen to me whittle on about various things. Hi Lauren, lovely to see you being live there. And anybody who wants to join us, by the way, we have our get together on a Tuesday for all cognitive stimulation therapy facilitators, and you're all very welcome. If you're new to CST or if you've been doing it for a long time, come along. It's 3:30 on a Tuesday, and if you have a look in the group, you'll see that there's a link in there. It's on Zoom, and we're all very friendly, and we'd love you to come along. I'm hoping it's going to be a good one this afternoon. So do come along and join us if you would like to. So Lauren says in the comments she'd have a go at categorizing objects. Categorizing is a brilliant one to do with literally no time to plan. I always remember my colleague Kate, my co-founder Kate, who did this once. So she was running the session. We were taking it in turns to run the sessions, and she got a co-op bag, if I remember rightly, and ran around her house just gathering up various things from pens to hose pipe ends, and bung them all in her bag. And then the session was emptying her bag out on the desk, and then we all had to categorize it into rooms that you would find it in the house, but also it got further than that into looking at categorizing objects into what they were made of, and some great discussions occurred. So yeah, categorizing objects would be a great one, Lauren, for that, having to go and do a session with no preparation. So good answer. So what I'm going to go through today very quickly, this is a very quick little workshop, is the little tweaks you can make to ensure that you are being as cognitively stimulating as you possibly can be in your sessions. We're also going to speak a little bit about the process that we do when we're planning our sessions to ensure that our beneficiaries are participating at their optimum level, and what we do to ensure that that happens. And then I'm going to very quickly go through the 5 specific elements that make all the difference when it comes to running your sessions. So without further ado, I'll crack on. Excuse me for keep looking over here, but I've got another screen with my notes on, so I'm not being rude. I might be being rude, but that's what I'm doing. So Actually, before I need to do that, do I need to introduce myself? I probably do. I probably don't to Lauren, because you know who I am. But for those that might be watching on a replay, my name's Laura. I'm co-founder of Memory Matters Southwest CIC, which I started with my sister-in-law 11 years ago because we were very frustrated with the lack of therapeutic support for people living with dementia, despite there being such an amazing evidence base out there that there's so much that we can do to help people living with dementia to thrive. And essentially that's what we've continued to do through the last 11 years. And we've really developed and found lots of great ways of doing that, and also supporting other organisations and individuals to do the same. So that's who I am in a nutshell: mental health nurse by trade. And my bread and butter work was running groups for a very, very long time. And now I support others to do the same. So number one is how we think about how we ask questions to people in our groups. Like, how do we ask questions? Are we asking factual questions? Are we? Because sometimes we can do it by mistake, even when we're aware of it. So things like, are we asking things like, what's your favourite song? What's your husband's name? Where did you go on holiday last year? What's the capital of Argentina? It's those quizzy type questions that you're asking somebody living with dementia who is one of their primary symptoms is memory loss. And yet very often in conversation we can put them on the spot. So we're going to try not to do that as much as possible. So instead of asking, for example, where did you go on holiday, we might ask, where's your favourite place to go on holiday? It's a different question. It might get you the same result, but it's a different, softer question. Equally, where did you go to school? Well, if we want to start talking about school years, let's talk about the specifics around school. I wonder what sort of uniform you would have all have worn at school is a good one to ask your group. So you're still going to create that conversation, but without people being put on the spot and feeling uncomfortable. So have a think about the questions that you use within the group and the conversation starters that you use, and ask yourself, could I answer this question if I was unable to recall anything? Could I answer this question if my memory was not accessible to me right now? And if not, change it. We always look at individual talent as well with the people in our group. So every single one of us has an amazing talent, don't we? So for some people it might be that they're really good at maths. They might be really good at adding things up in their head really quickly. Some people might be really good or really strong at spelling, as an example. Now, I always try and find what that talent is for each individual in my group, so that when I am doing an activity, I can bring in what it is that they're good at so that they can shine. And I do try and do that for every person in the group. So, as an example, if somebody is really good at adding up figures really quickly, if you're doing a physical game session, you can bring them in to add up the scores if you're playing bowls or darts or whatever. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the planning process. So how do we plan sessions to ensure that that can happen? So there are two things that we're looking at. We're looking at what are their individual talents that we can bring in when we are pulling a session together. How can we make Margaret, really shine within this group? But equally, we're also looking at those session objectives. So if you haven't got a copy of the session objectives, I do believe in the group they're in files. So they're in the file section of the cognitive stimulation therapy group. You can find them there. If not, just send me a direct message and I'll point you to it. But having a look at each session and the objectives for each session really, really helps when you're planning, because it means you can always come back to them. So if one of the objectives is categorizing, as an example, then I would be looking at where am I getting that into the session? So keep coming back when you're writing your session to your objectives. So So now I'm going to do the 5 things, because we're up to 10 minutes already. Doesn't it go really quickly? So I've just got time to do my my 5 things. Number 1, and you'll recognise these. You'll recognise them. If you've done the training for CST, you'll recognise them. These will be a really good reminder. New ideas, thoughts and associations. We are not running a reminiscence session, okay? We are wanting new ideas. We want people to come up with new thoughts, new thinking around things. So yes, we reminisce, and we reminisce because people can access their long-term memories easily, and it gives them identity. It's important, of course it is, but we have to be asking questions around new ideas. What do you think of this? What do you think of this new concept, or this piece of news, or this piece of art, or this piece of music? What do you think about it? What does it bring up for you? How do you what are the emotions that come up with this music? And what does this make you think about? Or what does this smell conjure for you? Let's have new thoughts. Let's think about new ideas as much as we possibly can. You never know, you may be able to come up with a great idea for a brand new business in your sessions. You never know, some amazing ideas can happen. Number 2 is about physical movement. Let's make sure that people are moving. Not so easy on virtual CST, but in group work we can certainly get people to look at things by taping things on the walls. They actually have to get up and move around to take part in the session. Number 3 is triggers to aid either recall or your new thoughts and ideas. So I've just been out in the garden and I've picked a few things. So obviously you can't smell this jasmine, but it's absolutely beautiful. It smells lovely. And in a session, I might bring that in to help to orientate to the time of year. Also, I've got a mint leaf, which smells amazing. Some strawberries. I even found a raspberry. Look at that growing in my garden. And a rose. So just bringing in props that we can touch and feel and smell. Implicit learning. You've heard me go on about this if you've listened to me before. If you haven't, welcome. Implicit learning really is about sitting next to the person living with dementia and discovering with them. And finally, of course, can we be silly? Can we bring silliness and fun into the session? Can we laugh? Because actually we will have more fun if we're laughing. So those are the 5 things that you need in place for a really good CST session. And that is it in a nutshell. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do, if you're watching this on a replay, please do comment, ask questions, and tag me into the questions if you need me to specifically answer, because I would love to. And have a brilliant end of Tuesday. If you want to, please do come along to our Tuesday coffee session at 3:30 today and every Tuesday, and we will see you there. Take care.